Morning. Thanks for joining us for the News 12 Fastcast. I'm Nick Proto. 7:30 here on our Wednesday, November 6th. We did have some breaking news come down earlier this morning. If you were watching our morning newscast, the presidential race has been called for former President Donald Trump. He's got 277 electoral votes. You only need 270 to win. How did that happen? Well, Wisconsin came down at about 5:30, 5:45 this morning. That was the last 10 votes the former president needed to get over that 270 threshold. So let's take a look at a wide scope here of how we got to this point in the presidential election. There were 7 states that we were taking a look at: Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, North Carolina, Georgia, Arizona, and Nevada. Together, those 7 states account for 93 electoral votes. That was a huge chunk. President Biden carried 6 of those 7 swing states in 2020. The only one he didn't was North Carolina. President Trump has won that all 3 times that he's run for president. So as you can see right now, they're all red. As we take a look here, the ones that are called, these are just the ones that have officially been called. If we can get that pulled back up. Give me 1 second here. So this is the ones that have just been called officially: Pennsylvania, North Carolina, Georgia, and Wisconsin. But look at the leans here. Those are the other ones: Michigan, Arizona, Nevada. So all 7 at least lean towards the former president. And that is how we ended up in this position. We'll pull up the rest of the map full here. Let's take a look at Georgia here in the Peach State. This is one of the areas that we see those strong Democratic pockets in the major areas like Fulton County. That's a strong Kamala Harris threshold here: 380,000 votes to 142,000 votes. And that was going to be the key for Vice President Harris, getting enough votes in those metros to make up for the ground that President Trump is going to gain in those rural areas. So let's take a look down our neck of the woods here. Richmond County, about a 30,000 vote difference. But look how quickly that goes away here. Burke County, about 1,000 votes. Columbia County, 22,000 votes. And as we make our way around a little bit more here, another 2,000 in Lincoln, another only about 100 in Jefferson County. I already did Burke County there, making our way a little bit more south, another 1,000 in Jenkins County. So you see these 1,000, 2,000, a few hundred there, 1,000 or so there. That makes the difference when you're trying to eliminate the advantage that the vice president gained with those big Democratic pockets. And this is a theme that we saw in a number of those swing states. Let's come over here to North Carolina right now. Mecklenburg County, that's where Charlotte is. 65% of the vote to 32% of the vote. And one thing we saw in some of these swing states was that in the big metro areas where President Biden excelled, Vice President Kamala Harris was just a tick or so worse, maybe a 0.5% here, 1% there. And in the small scale, that's not such a big deal. But when you're trying to scrap for every vote and every percent, that adds up. I mean, the margins were so razor thin. In Georgia, it was 11,500 votes or so back in 2020. Similar story out in Arizona. It was 11,000 votes, still waiting on some final tallies there. In Wisconsin, it was about 20,000 votes. And the former president was just able to flip that script this time around, winning Wisconsin by about 30,000 votes with just a few left to come in, and winning Georgia by a much bigger margin, 120,000 votes there. So that was the story. And North Carolina was called first. I want to say that was probably around 11:30, 11:45 last night. Georgia was after that. And then once Pennsylvania got called around 2:30 this morning, the writing was kind of on the wall there for Vice President Kamala Harris. But another thing I wanted to point out was these 3 states here: Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania. They're known as the blue wall. That's been a strong Democratic threshold for 30 plus years. Going back to 1992, these 3 states have voted the same way in every election, and in every election except 2, they've gone with the Democratic Party. The only 2 exceptions: 2016, they went with Donald Trump, and 2024, they went with Donald Trump again, and they proved to be the difference in this election. So that is how we ended up with 277 votes here for the former, now future President Donald Trump, and we still have a few states, Michigan, Nevada, Arizona, Alaska, still needing to get those final votes in. And right now, those are all leaning red. So expecting the number to be a little bit higher there. We were making some history no matter what in this election. Either we were going to have the first female president in Vice President Kamala Harris, or we were going to have the second president to serve non-consecutive terms, the first to do it since Grover Cleveland. So that is what we were getting with the former president and president-elect. It's a little bit weird to put a title on him, President Donald Trump.